What is up everyone, and welcome to some more F1 My Team Career Mode. Last time out we were at the Mexican Grand Prix, and after Albon made a crucial mistake for the championship which resulted in him DNFing from the race, I managed to pick up the win, and we regained 25 points on him in the championship and find ourselves only 28 points down on him now with 3 races to go. Now that is still a big margin to overcome, but if there is one circuit which I have been consistently strong at the entire time it's been on the calendar since Season 2, that would have to be the Algarve International Circuit at Portugal. I think this is probably one of my strongest Grand Prix on the calendar, to be perfectly honest with you, alongside the likes of Britain and the likes of Saudi Arabia. This is a track which I feel like I am nailed on to do well at every single time. We won here last year, even when we weren't in a particularly good form and we were struggling to get results against Lando Norris. We managed to scrape the championship in the end, but it was quite tough. And the win that we got here ended up cementing it for us, I think, and helped us along the way to winning our 3rd championship in a row. And I'm hoping that a win here might somehow get us back into the fight. Despite the fact that we were almost 60 points down just a few races ago, we have managed to close that gap to just 28 over the course of those few races. And a good result here could spell the opportunity for me to get right back at Albon. We can't take the lead of the championship here, but if he finishes outside of the points, then we could potentially be only 2 or 3 points behind him if we can grab a win here, and maybe even fastest lap as well. Who knows? So things started out with practice. It was raining for the majority of the session. It was dry at the very beginning, at the very end. So I would say that these times aren't really representative of the pace that people had. But I still feel pretty confident around here. Regardless of what my practice pace is like, we don't have to focus on that too much. We can just move on to the following sessions and not really think about it too much. Max Verstappen was fastest, but whether he'll be fastest in the race or not, and in qualifying as well, it's entirely just dependent on what his pace is like in that session. So I'm not going to think about it too much, and we're just going to keep moving forward. My goal, I think, for qualifying is going to have to be pole position here. I think anything less than I'd probably be a little bit disappointed with a result like that. Because I need to get the best results I can possibly get. Even if Albon doesn't get the best results he could possibly get, we still have a massive points deficit to climb. So we kind of have to be perfect towards the end of the season, I think, and also hope for a little bit of bad luck on Albon's side, because the smallest margin that I could potentially get to him would be, I'm trying to think, 19 points. Because there's 1 point between first and second in the sprint, and then 6 points if second place gets fastest lap in every race. The minimum amount of points we outscore him by is 19 points. So we would have to get a little bit lucky and hope that Alex Albon also doesn't just finish second in every race, even if we're finishing first in every race. So we made it through Q1. I wasn't really paying attention to it because I was talking about point permutations and things like that. But we made it through P9, nothing too special, but we did only use 1 set of tyres. We've been quite good at doing that recently, to be honest, and that is incredibly encouraging to see, that we are able to make it through these sessions using only a single set of tyres, because it means that we are way more competitive in Q3. If we've got 2 sets of tyres, we're almost nailed on for pole position, because usually everyone on the grid has used at least 3 sets, if not 4 sets of tyres by the time we get to Q3, and the pace that they show in Q3 is often not quite as good as the pace that they show in Q1 and Q2. So as long as I make it through to that session, I'm always looking good to potentially get a very solid result. And we'll see what we can do. You've seen the places I've got pole already this season. I even managed to grab pole at Monaco, which I actually couldn't quite believe, and it was quite a dominant one as well. So we move forward. We actually go 1,000th of a second slower than Albon on our first run in Q2. This is on a fresh set of softs, and unsurprisingly, we do go out on that same set of softs again. So we're going to have to deal with being just a single 1,000th of a second off of Albon, but P2 and only 1,000th off of P1 I will take in Q2, and we are comfortably through to Q3. So now is where the real battle begins for the hunt for pole position here. Quite a few surprise exits from this session, actually. Both McLarens, both Jaguars making it through. Gasly and Sainz too, but Verstappen and Leclerc are the surprise exits from this session. And also, actually, Russell was eliminated in Q1, and you'll find out in a little bit, but he qualified last. He was 22nd on the grid, which I actually am kind of surprised by. So yeah, Gasly, Sainz, both Jaguars, both McLarens, and also both Williams and both AlphaTauris making it through to Q3. So yeah, a little bit of a mix-up there. I mean, the Williams have been incredibly strong, and to be fair, the AlphaTauris haven't been half bad this season either. So maybe I should expect more of them. I don't know. As we move through now to Q3. And we're on a fresh set of softs. We'll be doing both runs on a fresh set of softs. We'll do a 1:16.3 to kick things off. It's not quite as fast as I was in Q1, or sorry, in Q2, but it's not a massive deal because I'm sure we can find a little bit of improvement. We only have to do a 1:16.2 to get pole position, and we're currently 0.3 up on our 1:16.3. So I think that we're honestly on a pretty good run for this as we round the final corner now. I would say that, yeah, we're pretty much nailed on for this. And, yeah, for God knows how many years in a row now, we're going to take pole position. We dip into the 1:15s. And, yeah, I think this is like our third or fourth pole in a row here in Portugal. We're just incredibly dominant at this track.
With qualifying finished, it's time to remind ourselves once again of our top three. Robinson, Norris, and Carlos Sainz. Well, that wraps up qualifying, but don't worry, we'll be back tomorrow as we head into the Grand Prix.
Well, this is interesting, isn't it? Alex Albon only P4 in qualifying, and that does potentially present us with a big opportunity to get back at him in the championship. If he stays P4, we could do as much as cut his lead in half if we finish the race in first with fastest lap. Yeah, this is a big opportunity, which I think we're going to have to take if we want any chance of winning this championship. We can't let this one slip through our fingers like we've let a few opportunities previously in the season slip through our fingers. You know, when we had that bad result in Italy, only finishing P6 when Albon was out of the race. When we failed to capitalise on the fact that Albon was right down the order in Singapore when the car broke down. We need a strong result here in Portugal, and I am going to push like hell to make it happen. No one is coming past me today, no matter what kind of thing I have to do to make sure that happens, because we need this victory. I want this fourth championship in a row. I want to match the likes of Sebastian Vettel and Alan Prost, and yeah, I will do everything in my power to enable that to happen. But the best way to make that happen is simply by being faster than everyone else on the grid. So that's what we're going to try and do. And yeah, in the meantime, we're going to see if we can outperform Charles Leclerc. Didn't even make it through to Q3, so I'd say that's pretty likely as well. And we'll see if we can win when we get into the Portuguese Grand Prix.
Welcome along then to Portimao, one of the busiest towns in the Algarve and a breathtaking destination that brings tourists from all around the world to the shores of southern Portugal. Today it's the backdrop for the latest round of the Formula One World Championship, and with a circuit this wide, we could be in for a lot of exciting wheel-to-wheel action today. So Portimao features 15 turns over the course of its 2.9-mile length. 9 are right-handers, 6 are to the left. This is a track with a lot of uphill action, which only accentuates the importance of getting those exits right, especially at turn 4, where a good line can present opportunities to pass on the way into turn 5. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks like for today's race. Robinson lines up on pole position, and Lando Norris lines up alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Sainz, Albon, Lance Stroll and Ricciardo, Gasly, Oscar Piastri, Fittipaldi and Mick Schumacher, Lundgaard, Leclerc, Max Verstappen and Ocon, Joe, Magnussen. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Nicholas Latifi and Felipe Drugovich, Teo Pourchaire, Tsunoda, Schwartzman and George Russell ends our grid lineup. It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track where preparations are underway. It's just about time to go to the track for the beginning of the race, but before we do, Natalie Pinkham, what types of strategy do you think we can expect going into today's race?
Well, there's a lot that both driver and the team have to keep in mind when going into a race. The tyres, fuel, energy recovery system, the list goes on and on. But I think the key to today's victory will come down to the pit stop strategy. Come in too soon and you might find yourself needing more than one stop. Too late and you're putting yourself at a disadvantage by spending longer on worn tyres.
Only 3 races left. You still have a chance at the title, but going to need some special performances. See what you can do, mate.
We're going to need a lot more than special performances is the thing, because I can deliver my absolute maximum, but if Albon delivers his absolute maximum as well, then it won't make a difference. You know, 28 points down on the championship. He is undoubtedly a better driver than me. I have said this on multiple occasions throughout the season, that, you know, if he has a little bit of bad luck and a little bit of misfortune, that still doesn't take away the fact that he was probably the deserving champion here. Although, I mean, who knows? Because I did retire from the lead at Zandvoort, and I also was on for 2nd place in Singapore. So maybe if he does have a little bit of misfortune at the end of the season, it's just the universe finding a little bit of balance. I don't know. But yeah, we'll see what can happen as we get ready to get into the Portuguese Grand Prix now, as the lights come on. And the lights go out, and we get away pretty well on these soft compound tyres. A few cars around us on the softs, but actually Albon not getting away well there on the mediums, and he's already been overtaken by Lance Stroll in the AlphaTauri. We've gone off track, and that's going to allow Norris right into the fight. He's gotten ahead of us, but we're going to try and go around his outside here at this hairpin, and we're going wheel to wheel at the moment, but through this next left-hand corner, I'm going to have the inside line, and we're going to squeeze him out, and that is going to allow us to retake the lead of the Portuguese Grand Prix. We lost it for all of a few corners just due to me going a little bit wide at the first corner. I didn't want to turn in and get taken out, so I just thought I'd take a nice wide berth, and that has worked out for us. There's a yellow flag behind, but I'm not sure what the occasion is. And yeah, we're just going to keep it going for the time being. We've already gapped Sainz actually by about a second or so, although I'm sure he'll close us down, as Norris is once again going for a potential move up the inside, which is going to switch to the outside for this next corner. Is he going to try and sweep around the outside? We'll see. I hug the inside of the corner. We don't go over the track, and yeah, we managed to defend the position for the time being. But yeah, so far Norris putting a lot of pressure on me. He's been mighty at the second half of this season. You know, in the first half he kind of was nowhere just due to the performance of the car, but once McLaren got their car back in the fight, Norris was right there again. Ricciardo has not really delivered many strong performances, although he did have that podium in Mexico, if I remember correctly, in a race where 6 people failed to finish. He managed to capitalise and get himself onto the podium. But yeah, we are currently leading the Portuguese Grand Prix as it was planned. We're now looking at Zhou Guanyu, and we're looking at Zhou Guanyu retiring from the Grand Prix due to his own silliness. Yeah, Mercedes, please fire. Anyway, that's triggered a safety car, and yeah, we're gonna be hopefully holding on to this lead on the safety car restart. Doesn't change things too much. It's far too early to pit, even if we're on the soft compound tyres. I'm not going to take any risks with the strategy like we did in Mexico. I'm just going to try and hold on to this lead if we can. And lo and behold, after a few laps, the safety car is coming in, and yeah, we can get straight back to running. I'm not going to show you a load of shots of me running behind the safety car, because let's face it, you don't want to see that. You want to see what happens in the race. And yeah, we got away a lot better than we did on the safety car restart last race in Mexico. Norris not really closing us down on this occasion, and that is going to allow us to maintain this position in P1 on lap 5 of the Portuguese Grand Prix. And yeah, this is exactly what I would want to see right now. We have been showing the pace that I would want to be showing. I think Norris might be a tiny bit faster than us, but with the battery we're able to hold our own on the straights. And that is all we need. Apparently there's some kind of incident that's happened again involving some kind of loose debris or something like that, but I guess they didn't want to trigger 2 safety cars right after one another. So yeah, we're just going to keep running and try and look out for it if we can. I wish they'd tell me which corner it was in, but the game's not that sophisticated yet, unfortunately. We move now around the final corner on lap 7 and into the beginning of lap 8, and yeah, the gap is staying pretty constant between myself and Norris. I've not really come under any kind of pressure from him, using the battery very effectively. We're managing to hold on to a good amount of battery at the same time, so yeah, I'm not too concerned about the fact that he might get back at me if I run out of battery, because we're not burning enough to really worry about that kind of thing. But yeah, at the same time, he is right there with me. You know, if I make a single mistake, he could definitely pounce, and it would be nice to try and build a little bit of a bigger gap to him if I can, to make my lead a tiny bit more comfortable. Albon's still running in P5 for the time being, so the gap between me and him is going to be 15 points at the end of this race if things stay the same, or rather, I'm gonna exceed what am I trying to say? Recover the gap to him by 15 points, down to 13 points overall. That will be the championship difference if things stay as they are. But he's on those medium tyres, and he does have good pace. You need to remember this about Albon. Just because he's running in P5 at the moment doesn't mean he's not a strong driver, and there is every chance in the world that he could potentially pull off an overcut on one or two cars there. I don't think he's going to be fast enough to overcut me, but he could very easily overcut Stroll there, and maybe Sainz as well. Although Sainz has actually jumped Norris in the pit stop phase for whatever reason. And yeah, that has enabled Sainz to find his way up into effectively net P2 in this race once everyone else pits, and everyone else is pitting indeed. Piastri and Albon there included in that, and I think there's a few cars who've stayed out, but yeah, that has enabled us to retake what is effectively the lead of the race. Not quite, because there's still a couple people left to go, but we've got out ahead of Albon. But Albon has come out ahead of Stroll and Norris, so Albon has moved up from net P5 in this race to net P3, and once Ricciardo and Fittipaldi ahead come into the pits, that will be P3. Speaking of Williamses, this is Gasly running behind one of the Williams, and not running for much longer, because he is going to be pulling off the track with a mechanical failure, and that has spelled the end of Pierre Gasly's Grand Prix. He wasn't running in the points, I don't think, or at least he was running on the fringes of the points if he was, so I don't think he'll be too disappointed with that. And yeah, as we move now on to lap 22, you can see that I am once again in the actual lead of the race, and we're currently doing quite well to maintain Sainz outside of our DRS range. But I don't know if honestly it's more worth it to have him in our DRS range, because that means that there's less of a chance of Albon overtaking him. And the last thing I want is for Albon to make up that position, because if I can gain 10 points on Albon every race, that's fine. That means that we will that means we'll beat him in the championship if I can gain 10 on him every race. If I only gain like 7 on him every race, then he'll win the championship in the end. So yeah, ideally I want him to stay where he is. We have to be quite strategic about this, and so keeping Sainz in my DRS range is actually more worth it. But anyway, we're going to move on now to lap 26, and this is actually Alex Albon, and if you haven't been able to tell what that jink to the right was yet, that is him indicating that he has some kind of mechanical problem, and in the exact same part of the track that Pierre Gasly retired from just a few laps ago, Alex Albon is retiring from the Grand Prix once again, and that has presented us with a gargantuan opportunity to get back at him in the championship. Now I'm going to be outscoring him by 25 points if I can stay where I am, and that is going to reduce the championship lead to just 3 points. However, there is a way to reduce the championship lead even further, and that is for me to push like absolute mad on this next lap and try and go for a fastest lap. We are going to be burning all the battery that we have basically, and just dumping it to try and get a fastest lap if we can. And now as we approach to the final corner, you can see I've had a green sector 1 and a purple sector 2, so I'm looking pretty good for this, burning as much battery as I have up to the line. We've kind of run out of it at this point, but as we cross the line, it's going to be a 1:18.0, and that is the fastest lap. So at the moment, if no one else takes this fastest lap away from me, which this was 0.3 faster than the previous fastest lap, so it's looking pretty good at the moment, the gap between myself and Albon is going to come down to just 2 points in this championship. With only 2 races to go, that is a deficit that I feel like I can very much overcome, especially going into another strong circuit of mine like Brazil. Obviously, Abu Dhabi has not historically gone amazingly well for me, but I only need it to go somewhat well, and then we could find ourselves once again in the championship winning position come the end of the season. But I'm going to soak in this victory for now as we come around the final corner on lap 33, and we are going to cross the line to take P1 once again. And my goodness, what an immense result for us. Obviously there was a little bit of luck involved in that as well. Were we the deserving winner? Absolutely. But did Alex Albon deserve to score no points? Absolutely not. And I mean, yeah, disappointment for him, but elation for us.
Championship as well. What a spectacular season they've had. Congratulations to the whole team. Natalie Pinkham, how did you think they were able to set themselves apart today?
I think it was clear what the main contributing factor out of the track was. Speed. It sounds like an awfully reductive statement, but fast cars win races, and we saw that today with our winner.
Here comes your top three making their way down to the podium for what can only be described as a fantastic day for Formula One.
Unbelievable scenes here at the Portuguese Grand Prix. Some might even describe them as biblical scenes, but that's something I don't personally ascribe to. But anyway, it will be me picking up the victory here in Portugal for I think the 4th year in a row at this point. Maybe even the 5th year in a row, I'm not quite sure. We got my man Carlos Sainz coming home in P2 and Norris completing the rostrum in P3. Albon scoring 0 points here, and the championship has been blown wide open.
So let's review the drivers' standings. The gap at the top of the championship has been cut down after a difficult race today for our championship leader. Let's focus on the driver of the day. Natalie Pinkham, come on, who do you pick?
Yuki Tsunoda gets my vote today.
The Constructors' Championship may be a foregone conclusion at the moment, but regardless, let's look at the standings. With that result, the sport's newest team can no longer be touched at the top of the table. What an incredible journey this has been for a team many had written off a short time ago. They are the Formula One World Champions. Meanwhile, Ferrari have improved their position. A strong weekend for them as they fight their way towards the top. Well, what an end to another fantastic weekend of racing. Thanks to everyone who joined us, and we'll see you for the next one.
Well, Max Verstappen has basically been mathematically eliminated from the championship. Yes, there is a slight chance that if me and Albon take each other out in both the sprint, the race, and the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix as well, that Max Verstappen, if he wins all of those, could just about find himself world champion here. But I would say that that is a fairly unlikely outcome. And yeah, I think it's going to be myself and Albon taking the top 2 spots in the championship. But it could go either way. It really just depends on what kind of results we get in these next couple races. Because Brazil is a strong circuit for me, but it's also one I have a long history of unreliability in, as we watched the world's shortest highlight reel. Yeah, nothing really happened in that Grand Prix, unfortunately. But yeah, I have a history of unreliability at Brazil. But it's made up for by the fact that I have a good track record at driving quite well there and pulling off quite a lot of overtakes, either on strategy or just on pure pace. But Abu Dhabi is pretty much the opposite there. You know, I always score a decent number of points. I always get a top 5 finish there historically. But as for my actual pace, it's not fantastic enough to win the race. I've only won there on one occasion, and we got quite lucky to do that. I would say Charles Leclerc was my rival at the time, being eliminated from the race basically on lap 1. So yeah, we are going to still need to put in some mammoth performances to win this championship. But that is going to be it for this video. If you enjoyed, please make sure you like and subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.